Hi everyone, welcome again to another Spitney webinar. This one's going to be exciting. We've replaced Irvin this week with Diane, the Hypnotic Amazon copywriter. How are you doing, Diane?
Doing great. How are you?
Very, very good. Bright and early over here. I think you're on specific times. You're the same time as most people watching this. Um, Diane has actually helped some of our Spitney customers already, and that's how we got to know her. And we thought it'd be a good idea to get someone on to talk about this topic. Um, Personally, it's not one of my strong suits. It's actually one of the reasons why I co-founded Spitney in the first place, is because I was not good at this sort of stuff. So I'm really excited to hear everything that Diane's going to say today. So with all that said, Diane, how about you take it away?
Awesome. Do you want me to start the webinar, like the screens right now, or do you want
Yeah,
me
you can jump into your slideshow whenever you want.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's jump right in. Give me just a second here. Okay. So, first of all, welcome everybody. I'm Diane.Boerstler. My clients call me the hypnotic sales copywriter. Really, I am just someone who's extremely good at turning people who land on your Amazon page into people who buy from your Amazon page. And I love doing it. It's my biggest passion. So let me get this started here. There we go. Can you see that okay?
It's all good, yeah.
Okay. So tonight we're going to go over two things, which I'm really excited about. One of them is my 3 hypnotic secrets to a $100,000 a month listing. And the other one is really important for anybody who is struggling or either starting out new or struggling with getting high conversions on their listing. And it's my Diagnose, Cure, Profit system. And it's basically an 11-step checklist to identify and fix and transform the problem listings that you have into profitable powerhouses. Okay. Here's just kind of a basic overview of why I know what I know. I'm not only a wife and a mom to 4. I'm not only the hypnotic Amazon copywriter. I've actually done over 220 million in sales for clients over the past couple of years, which I'm really proud of. Yeah. Okay. Give me a second here. Let me see what I can do to remedy this. Okay. Is that better? Can you hear me? Okay. The mic is actually in my headphones. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm just going to hold this up. Can you guys, I don't know, can they see me on screen still? Okay, perfect. So I won't look silly holding this up. Awesome. So basically, what I do is I focus on what's called hypnotic and NLP infused sales copywriting, which is where you take basic copywriting and you use some deep psychology hacks to up level that copywriting to the point where it has higher conversions, right? And I've been doing this for years, and most of my listings come out to adding an additional 10,000 to 30,000 to 50,000, and sometimes even $100,000 per month, which is really great. I'm really proud of being able to do that. And so today I'm here to share with you those secrets that I used and also the checklist I use when I'm diagnosing a listing, just so you're able to do the same thing. So that being said, this is also a no brag, what I like to call a no brag tactical session. You're not going to see, I'm not going to put up a whole bunch of proof or waste your time with that. There's plenty of that to be found on my website, and we'll talk about that at the end. And then we're also going to do a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. I really do want to be here to help you. In addition, my attorney says I have to have an income disclaimer every time I do this. So while I offer a 10x revenue guarantee, my clients know this on everything I optimize, that doesn't apply to this. So obviously it's given freely. So, we like to say use this at your own risk. It works really well, but definitely take it into consideration whether or not you believe it'll work for your business before you jump in and use these tactics. And that's just to cover my rear end. That's why I say that. So what can I guarantee you today is what I like to say is if you spend an hour with me and you actually implement this, then you get about $1,000 worth of value. I've heard a lot of people say they've received, $7,000 or $10,000 worth of value, but what I really want you to do is to think about that and why that matters to you, and then follow along with me, and then ask your questions at the end, and make sure you really implement this. And if there's anything you don't understand, make sure that you come back and, talk to somebody about it, because this is all really important to making those sales on Amazon. As you know, as a free gift just for showing up today, I like to give away I'm giving away my diagnosis checklist. And that's basically what we're going to go through today, is this diagnosis checklist. But then also I want you to have like a tangible copy to refer back to, so that when you're going through your listing, you can actually go through and check off the boxes and say, yes, I'm doing this. Yes, I'm doing this. I need to implement this, and that'll really help. And then before we get started, just so you know, you can always ask questions at any time, even after this live stream. It's absolutely fine, with me if you want to email me. I love to answer questions. That's why I do this. And also, what you're seeing today is based off of analyzing over 10,000 listings, and I've created a really detailed tactical resource for you to use. So this PowerPoint is a tactical resource, so you can refer back to that. And put it to work for you. You can also refer to the free gift. I'll show you the link for that at the end, just so that you have access to that. So if you're ready, let's get right into it. Are we ready? Okay, excellent. So we're going to go through 11 really simple steps, and we like to call these sales copy tactics, to diagnose and then cure and then profit from your listing if it's struggling. And also, these are things you should consider if you're creating a high converting listing and you want to have one from the day that you launch your product. So step number one, and this, as far as I'm concerned, this should be kind of unsaid or unspoken, but you have to give your listing a lot of love. So I see a ton of sellers coming in, and they all have the right intentions, and they're coming in and they find the right product. It solves a problem. They've done their market research. They've done their analysis. They've figured out their profit margin. They understand marketing, and then they put up this really lackluster listing. And they don't, this really, I guess a better term is like a dull listing, or like a low converting or boring listing. They focus just on the features, or maybe the features and benefits, right? Instead of focusing on what's really important. And what they don't realize is that listing is your 24/7 salesperson. That listing has to sell for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So just something to always consider is you get out what you put into it. And that's kind of a business. I mean, that's a regular major business motto is, you get out what you put into it, right? So one of the best ways to do this is to think of your listing like a full sales page. So your title on Amazon is more like a sales page headline. It needs to be simplified, but it also needs to really grab their attention. It needs to talk about the benefits and the transformation they'll experience, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. Your bullet points need to do the same thing. And your description should really be about your story and building trust, not just about, putting in the features and the details. So that, just something to keep in mind as we're going through this. That's why this makes sense, is because these full sales pages convert really well. And when you turn your Amazon product listing into a full sales page, it's going to convert better as well. So that's step one. Step two is to really, when you're checking over your listing, make sure you're speaking to one person, right? So, what I mean by that is not necessarily one specific person, although I do suggest you speak to one specific persona, like you're speaking to your best friend at a bar, right? But definitely that you're not imagining yourself speaking to an audience in an auditorium. Okay. So think about when you're having a conversation, think about your best friend walking into a bar, and that your best friend is your best customer, right? And you're sitting there next to your best friend, and they say, I have a problem. Your job is to help solve that problem for that specific person, right? And the way you go about doing that is by understanding what problem they're experiencing, and figuring out how your particular product's features and benefits create the transformation they need to get to where they want to be. So they're going from where they are right now, right? Where they're in pain, maybe they're sad, maybe they're depressed, maybe their dog has fleas, maybe they, they want to look better, so they attract the right mate. You're taking them from there with your product listing to the transformation you want. So their dog is happy and joyful and flea free, or they have, like they feel confident and sexy, and so they have attracted that mate, right? So it's really about that transformation. But either way, when you're going through your listing, make sure that you're speaking, when you're writing the way you speak to that one person, right? Not as though you're standing in front of an audience. There is a very rare exception to that. And that's what I like to call multi-target products. This doesn't happen any place outside of e-commerce that I'm aware of. So while I'm saying speak to one person, sometimes in your listing, you will have something that solves two major problems, right? Let's take a nootropic or a brain supplement. You may have the student who is coming to take that so they outperform other students on the test, right? Which I know is a really big thing in Thailand and also in the United States. And then you also have the grandma who is looking for something that's going to improve her memory. Okay, so what you would do for something like that is you would have a specific bullet point that speaks to your largest audience, which might be that student who's taking that test and who wants to get straight A's and who wants to stay awake, stay focused, perform well. And then you'd also have another bullet point below that if the grandma was a secondary the secondary audience. And what you would do is you would talk to her about the transformation she'll experience with her memory. She'll remember her grandkids' birthdays. She'll remember her where her keys are. She'll remember to take her medication. She'll remember things like that. She'll remember to take the supplement, something along those lines. Same thing with like a foam roller, right? So foam rollers are awesome for fitness, and a lot of people purchase them for weight loss, but then they also are very useful when it comes to back pain. So they'll help with like massaging away pain via trigger point therapy. Okay, so same thing. You would take those bullet points and you would have one bullet point that instead of speaking specifically to the features, you're going to speak to the people. Okay, you're going to speak to the person who wants to lose a bunch of weight or get rid of cellulite. And then you're going to speak to the person who has back pain about trigger point therapy and having an instant massage therapist and really how they're going to feel after they get to use this at 3 o'clock in the morning when they can't sleep. That's more of the transformation, right? So they're both looking for different transformations and results. So you split it into different bullet points. Do not try to crowd everything into one bullet point and say everything your product does for everybody in one bullet point, because you risk the chance of turning somebody off instead of keeping everybody instead of using the anchors that keep the specific audience you need to target tuned in and ready to buy. uh, 3 in the diagnosis and cure profit system is what I like to call future pacing regret and then future pacing success. So most sales copywriters understand, and even a lot of Amazon sellers are really smart, and they understand that you have to paint a picture of how the customer's life will continue to will transform or improve when they buy and use it. They don't think about, and that's called future pacing. When you're putting into the future the story or the vision of how that customer's life will change when they buy your product and when they use it correctly, right? That's called future pacing. What they don't think about is that they also have to future pace regret. And that is basically painting the image of what will happen if for some reason they don't buy your product. So are they going to, and you can't say things like remain fat, but like, are they going to remain low energy? Are their kids going to feel sad? Are they, will their dog look miserable and itchy? Things along those lines. So you have to future pace regret and success. And again, I put this all together for you in a free download. And so, if you're not able to take notes fast enough, then please know that this is coming to you. So or you will be able to get access to this for free. So, I just kind of want to go over the basics right now. Number 4, this is a huge one. I am shocked by how many Amazon sellers forget to do this or just kind of skip over it, right? So we all have this tendency when we're writing to want to write to ourselves and what makes us feel the best about the product. And really, that's not what sells. What sells is when you're pushing the hot buttons of your audience, right? So what you need to do is figure out, in order to push the hot buttons, you need to figure out their language. Okay. And it's actually really simple. You need to figure out the words and the phrases they use to describe the results they receive, to describe the benefits of the product, and describe features they're excited about. Even if you're just launching your first product, this is super simple. All you have to do is go and look at your competitors' reviews for similar products on Amazon. So as you know, when you go to the top of Amazon, it says, like 11 reviews or 150 reviews or 5,000 reviews, right? If you click on that and you go down, you'll see that, and you scroll down, you'll see that there are all of these reviews. You're going to start noticing, if you make an Excel spreadsheet, that many of these reviews have specific words that people are using, right? And they're using those same words and phrases to describe it over and over and over again. Assuming that these reviews are verified, they're verified purchases, you're able to then pull those out and say, oh, hey, I know that the people who want to buy this product use these specific words or language, right? These words or language really resonate with them. It makes them feel like, I'm one of them. It makes them feel like they can trust me. Okay. So go through and pull those out, use those in your listing. Instead of using the words you'd use with your family and friends, use those words and you'll see your sales increase. The next thing for, the hot button research is questions. It is really surprising. Sorry, pardon me, getting over a cold here. It's really surprising how many questions, let's say you go to like a top selling product, right? And you look at the questions, you say, wow, it's so funny. Someone has asked the same question 10 times, but they haven't even bothered to mention the answer in their listing, right? Use that to your advantage. If everybody has a question about a different product or about your product, put the answer in your listing so people know they're getting the right information. Okay. The other thing you can do is look at outside forums. So for example, let's say you have an LCHF or low carb, high fat diet product, right? Or paleo, which are slightly different things, but I guess they're two different things. Let's go with paleo. Let's say you have a paleo product, right? And it's like paleo beef jerky. If you go to paleo forums and where people are looking at what to eat, you can actually see the specific words and the specific phrases that they're using, and you can use those in your language as well. And people, just so you know, if you need to go to outside forums, not just Amazon, because people are a lot more honest when they think they're speaking in a safe place where nobody else will see it except for people who believe the same way they do. For example, in the paleo diet, uh, versus being on Amazon where they think this is going to be public view, right? So they're a lot more honest on these outside forums. So go check that out. So basically, you're going to look at these areas, you're going to find patterns, you're going to identify the commonly used words and phrases, and you're going to just use those in your listing. It's that simple. Use their language in your listing. And it takes a little while to go through that research, obviously, but it's well worth it. Step number 5 is what we call VACOG language. And so it's using really vivid imagery, right? So we're painting pictures. We are helping people when we're writing a listing to imagine what life would be like if they purchased your product. And the reason we're doing this is because the subconscious mind, which is the mind you're not really thinking about all day, that you don't realize you're thinking all day long, it's just processing everything. It believes 100% of what you put into it in terms of imagery. So if, for example, like they show people, they've done these tests where they put these nodes all over people's heads, right? These electrodes, and they show them an image of a spider. Okay. And then they've compared that to sticking a real spider right in front of somebody. Your brain has the exact same response. If people see an image of a spider, the subconscious mind believes that it's just like a spider being right there in front of you. So it's really important to paint that image of them already owning the product and how that's going to change their life, right? One of the easiest ways to do this is by using this VACOG language, which is VACOG stands for visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. Okay. And we really don't have to use 4 and 5 very often, but the visual and the auditory and the kinesthetic are really important. So visual are basically their sight words, right? And so I provided a list of sight words right here. And then there's also this great website that you can grab off the PowerPoints. Andrew, are you guys going to put the PowerPoints up somewhere?
Yeah, we can send them out to our webinar attendees after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fabulous. So you guys will have this. Don't feel like you need to be scribbling down really fast. These are some of the top ones right here. These are visual words. So if you look through and you say, okay, well, how can I implement these in my listing? Can you say something like, imagine viewing the vivid coloration of the bird as it lands, 1,000 yards away through your, XYZ bird watching binoculars, right? So that's very, very visual. And about 60% of the population identifies as being mostly visual, right? So you want to make sure that your copy, your words you're using to write your listing when you're writing is about 60% visual, okay? So you want to use about 60% words that trigger visual. Then there's auditory, which is more sound. I'm an auditory person. Okay, I'm very sound oriented and I identify with that. About 30% of the population is auditory. And so you'll want to see if you can integrate some of these words as well, right? So you can say something as easily as, ring a bell. You can say something like, do you remember the last time you heard the beautiful sound of babies giggling? I mean, anything that kind of triggers that, the auditory and the sound side of things, right? And again, there's words here that you can go through and look at and use. And that's about 30%. And again, these are, as you probably noticed, these are all pretty much verbs. So you're looking to replace verbs, not everything else. Then there's kinesthetic. About 10% of the population identifies as kinesthetic. So if you can put it, kind of sprinkle these throughout, and there's a lot more down here again. If you can sprinkle these throughout, this is great. The one difference is that people who are CEOs and entrepreneurs tend to be more kinesthetic. So if you're selling a product that is a B2B or business to business product, you want to focus more on kinesthetic and less on the visual auditory. And, a good example of this is, if you're looking at a product and you're talking about the durability of the product, right? So you can say something like, feel the sturdiness, feel is kinesthetic. The sturdiness is kinesthetic. The moment you hold it is also kinesthetic because it's a physical, tangible word. The moment you hold it in your hands. And again, even if you just go through and see, most of us will start to identify like, okay, I've written this listing and it's, all the verbs are visual verbs. Can I go through and, use some auditory verbs? Can I go through and use some kinesthetic verbs? And if you can do that, that's really great. It just paints a much stronger image to everybody. Then there's my favorite, which is actually olfactory and gustatory. And this is actually the scent and taste. And so I love trying out products that people are smelling or people are eating. So for example, like aromatherapy is really awesome for me because I get to use these really strong, powerful verbs that describe how something smells. Or coffee is awesome. So, rich mouthwatering aroma of fresh brewed coffee is great. I was working on a meat roller, like a steak roller listing last week. And I loved, this is something I pulled out. It was, we talked about every succulent, juicy bite. So you're going to roll through the toughest steak and transform it, after on the grill, you're going to transform it, and you're going to enjoy every succulent, juicy bite, right? So if you can put this more, my mouth's actually watering thinking about that. If you can put this stronger VACOG language in, then you're going to definitely do a lot better than if you have weak, boring, unentertaining language in your listings, obviously. That being said, one of my favorite tactics to teach new sellers, and some sellers who've been on here for a while, they may resonate with this as well. But if you can just go through and figure out how to turn up the volume or turn up the power and intensify all the words you use in your listing, right? You're going to do really well. So if you can take, for example, a lot of people we call this playing small with your product. So if you're playing small with your product and you're kind of like doling it down, you want to ramp it up. So instead of saying, XYZ product, customers say XYZ product often, helps you, whitens your teeth in 3 weeks. You can say, well, does it sometimes? Well, if yes, then put in sometimes. Does it frequently whiten your teeth? Frequently whiten their teeth and say, frequently. Sorry, pardon me. Does it always whiten their teeth? That's a risky one, but you can power up to that. Same thing. If you're using, emotional words like angry, can you take angry since it's really overused and say frustrated? Can you use enraged? Can you go through your competitors' testimonials and their reviews and find something that's even stronger than enraged and use that instead? You want to power up this language. And there's also things like, I see this all the time. This is like kind of one of my pet peeves. So people will say like, it's good, it's excellent, it's awesome. We don't want to position your product as being good or is awesome or excellent. And awesome is a great word. I mean, especially for if you're targeting a specific audience. But if you can say something like unparalleled or unbeatable, or if you can literally say it's the best, without sounding like white noise, like, background noise, without falling into the wallflower status, then you're going to sell a lot more. Number 7, I always look at is, when I'm reading through the listing, there are 2 main types. It's kind of a spectrum. But there are two main types of readers who are reading your listing and looking to purchase something that solves their problem, right? There are the reptilian people who are kind of in caveman mode, cave person mode, and they're thinking with their subconscious mind and they're skimming. They already believe that there's a solution. They believe that they're going to find it. They believe it's out there, and they're just kind of skimming and they trust that they're going to find the right thing. Then there are the conscious people. The conscious people, and everybody goes back and forth, by the way. It's not that you're stuck on one or the other. The conscious people tend to be more deep readers. They're very cautious and tactical. So, what you have to do is pull so that someone actually reads everything about your listing and feels really confident in purchasing the product that you offer on Amazon. Is you have to move them from the conscious to the, or from, sorry, from the reptilian brain, which we call, the caveman brain, into the conscious brain. And there's a really easy way to do that. So you just ask yourself, am I using tonal markers as hooks and stoppers to make my customers read deeper? Because we want these reptilian people to be reading deeper and not skipping over specific things they're looking for before they buy your product, right? And the way that you do that is you can do an all caps hook at the beginning that trails off of each bullet point, and I'll show you how to do this in a minute. And then you also want to take those different hot button words that you find, and then the transformations and the features and benefit words, and put them in all caps within each bullet point. Okay. And it would look something like this. So I made this up completely. This is not from anybody else's listing. I decided I wanted to write about a curling iron. So I said, salon grade obviously is important because people are looking for something that is salon grade for this particular product. And we know that because we did our research, right? We did our research. And then they also like humor. We found out they're all very funny people. They wrote some very funny reviews. So we said, not your mama's curling iron. And it trails off right here after mama's, and people will continue to read that way, right? And then just in case they stop reading, we started, and you can't use underlines on Amazon. Just, I'm sure everybody knows this, but you can't actually use, I just did this to make it easier to see. So we used all caps on the words gorgeous, flawless, bouncy, and stay set all day. Because when we were reviewing competitors' listings, even though this is a fake product, I still went through and reviewed competitors' listings, right? Just before putting this up for you today. We looked and we saw, okay, gorgeous is a huge one, flawless, bouncy, and then touchable was a little bit less important, but touchable spirals that stay set all day. Okay. And then this is really important here. So even in or even if, and this isn't part of this 11 steps, but I want to point this out. So you want to overcome their objections. You're always looking to overcome their objections. So the way you do that is you can say even in, and then whatever they think the environment is that is going to cause the product not to work. So for example, if you have curls and they fall out in a high humidity environment, you'd say even in a high humidity environment. Obviously, don't lie about it. Okay. So if your product doesn't work in a high humidity environment, then don't say that. You can also focus on even if, and I'm sure a lot of people know this already, but this is just kind of a sales copy basic. If you're going to overcome objections, you can say something like, even if your hair, has never, curled before. I mean, obviously, I write, not speak for a living, although I love speaking. Even if your hair refuses to curl with every other curling iron. So that's kind of overcoming the skepticism, right? Step 8, this one's really easy. I put together a list of the words that are the most powerful words in sales copy and in conversions. And these particular words right here, again, you're going to get this PowerPoint. And I also created a cheat sheet for you, a checklist for you that explains it a little bit better. Just in case you forget everything we're talking about today, so you can still go through and diagnose your listing. These are some very specific words. So for example, you and money, save, results, health, easy, love, discovery, proven. You guys can read. But if you go through and you can just check off and say, hey, is there any place I can use this in my listing? These are words that have proven to increase conversions just by adding these specific words in there. Step 9 is, or sorry, I don't know why that says step 8. It should say step 9. So nobody's perfect, right? So what you're wanting to do with this one is look at, like, when you're looking through the reviews, you want to see, we think we know why somebody would buy a product based on why we would buy a product, right? But what we really want to do is look at the desire, that the reason that your customers want to buy your product, especially your ideal customer. Okay. The way to figure that out is to ask yourself, based on human nature, humans are always going away from something, like away from pain and, towards pleasure. Okay. Or away from debt and towards money, away from fat towards fit, away from, lethargy, from exhaustion towards tons of energy to run after their kids, away from being ignored by the opposite sex to, towards being looked like stopping cars as they cross the street, right? So they're going away from a problem and towards a better life. If you just ask yourself, what is it they desire? Okay. What are they trying to go away from? And what is it they desire? And focus on that in your listing, you'll increase your conversions, because what you're doing is you're speaking to their actual desire. And I don't want to sound like floofy, but their desire in their heart, like the things they won't share with other people, right? So you just need to speak to how their life is right now, how it won't transform without your product, or how, even if you don't want to go towards negative, you can say, this is the best product if you want to have, or ideal for, you know, um, and go into like what, like how the negatives of what won't change. For example, like this is ideal for people who want to, quickly and easily lose weight without having to give up the foods that you love, right? Super simple copy, right? And then you speak to their desire and say, especially if you want to look, by painting a picture, especially if you want to, finally fit back into those high school jeans, you look so sexy, and whatever. You can kind of go along with that. So move them, figure out how your product solves the problem, what problem it's solving for them, and then move them towards what they actually want, and you're going to do a lot better. Sorry. And then you have to remember to propose a solution, right? So you can get them all excited, okay? But you have to ask them to buy. You have to actually, if you can work it in there, especially, and I love to do this in the fifth bullet point. So you're talking about your guarantee, right? Or whatever it is, whatever trust anchor you have to give them, whatever security you have to give them. When you go to your fifth anchor, you want them you want to prompt them to buy, to actually click add to cart, okay? Because people get all excited, but they'll just keep waiting. They'll read and read and read and read and read a lot of times. Even if they've used Amazon a million times, they still often forget, especially if you pull them in too hard and they're really excited. Then they'll go away and think about your product and how their life will change, but they won't have purchased. You really want to ask them to buy, okay? Step number 9, are you speaking to seventh graders? So the average American has, and again, this isn't worldwide, but this is, like I said, I do copy and I write copy and optimize it for any country where people speak English. But in the US specifically, we really have to speak to seventh graders, and nothing against the US population. That's just kind of where our population tests at. So we need to use really simple language. And unless you're selling a B2B product, business to business product, you want to keep out the industry jargons, and you want to leave out unknown acronyms. So go through and check your listing, your Amazon product listing, and ask yourself, is this something that that I assume my audience understands, that my buyers understand, or is this something that I just understand because I've done so much research on this product and I've become an expert? Make it as simple as possible. That being said, you want to keep bullet points to, a lot of people say under 200. I have found that our highest converting bullet points are 250 to 350 characters. Sometimes we go a little bit longer. It just depends on the product. Sometimes it's a little bit shorter, but that's our highest converting range right there. You also want, so double check your bullet points, make sure they're not screaming long and they're, obnoxious to read, and make sure they're not so short that people are bored, they're not getting enough information, right? So then the other thing you need to do when you're speaking to a seventh grader is think of yourself as standing in front of a seventh grader and literally trying to tell them about this product. You need to entertain them. You have to keep them engaged. You have to make it worth reading. So don't go through, use boring, bland, dry language. Use, powered up language like we talked about before. And another tip that really helps people that I've trained to do this is you want to give your product a voice, right? Almost like you would a cartoon character, but more like a therapist. You want it to be in a warm and friendly and caring tone, because really when people are going to look for your products on Amazon, they're, even if you're selling something as simple as like weed whacker string, they're not there because they just want to shop all day long. And some people do, but they just want to shop all day long and they want to look for weed whacker string. They're there because they want somebody to solve their problem. More specifically, they want a product to solve their problem. So if you can be thinking like that, like, okay, what voice would my product use if it was, and it sounds silly, but it works really well, right? So what voice would my product use if it was speaking to a seventh grader and telling it about how it would solve that seventh grader's problem of even being at a weed whacker string. There's a story behind that, but I'm not going to go into it right now. Um, Step 10, and this is really important, really, really important. Don't try to sell. Don't be hypey. Don't try to talk them into anything. What you want to do is you want to put everything out in front of them, kind of like a buffet, and you want to let them talk themselves into buying. Okay. So, really, if you think about it, just like we were talking about just a minute ago about being a therapist and solving a problem, you need to, like a therapist would, ask the right questions and say the right things to be able to create what we call the sales and the buyer endorphin rush, right? You have to be able to evoke those emotions. And there's something really cool I don't have up here, but I think it's called the emotion wheel. And if you want to Google it, it's something that's really cool. It shows you, like, if you want somebody to feel happy about your product, there's like there's other, it's kind of like a wheel, and there's different spokes in the wheel that show you which specific words to use. Definitely Google it. It's really helpful, especially if you are getting stuck on writing your copy. And also, we talked about, again, look at the pain they're avoiding and the pleasure they're gaining. And how does your specific product help them avoid pain and gain that pleasure? Okay, so be a therapist, don't be a salesperson. It makes sense, right? We all like to go and have a friend to talk to about our problem and get our problem solved, but none of us like to walk into a car dealership and be bum rushed by like 15 people in funny suits, right? So, don't sell, try to just show them how you can solve their problem. Number 11 is a really big one that we've been working on. And for those of you who already use Splitly, then you would know all about this. We call this our biggest 7-figure seller tactic. So don't just, if you can afford to not test just one variation of your copy at a time, if you can split test it with 5 different title variations, 15 bullet points, 3 descriptions, and again, not all at the same time, but kind of organize them so that they make sense and then split test them. We've seen an average of around $18,000 in additional profit per month for already optimized listings. Okay, these are people who said, well, my listing's already optimized. I'm doing, $200,000 a month on my listings and they're great. And then we go and say, okay, well, what if we try just split testing, because we see these other things that you're not seeing, because it's kind of hard when you're on the inside and you're so close to it. But when you're from the outside looking in and you know how to do the research, then it's a lot easier to do it. So if you can split test until what we call finding the winning horse, right? The horse that wins the race, then that's a really good thing to be able to do. Um, then that so now that you kind of understand the sales copy basics and what to check for, there's some really cool advanced tactics that I'm going to go through, um, in the next it's probably going to take about 7 minutes. I hope everybody's still on, so that you can actually jump your regular listing that's really optimized into even higher profits, right? And I call these the 3 hypnotic secrets. And the reason I do that is because my background is in conversational hypnosis and NLP, or neuro linguistic programming, not just sales. So the question, that I always get from people, they laugh at me and they say, well, does hypnosis really work? Is it really that powerful? Can you really use these words on paper and make more sales? Well, yes and no. If you use it correctly, it works extremely well. If you misuse it, then you're going to look really silly. So, one of the cases I always like to point out actually happened recently. And there was this attorney in Ohio who was actually sentenced to prison because he used hypnosis to do some things that he ought not do. And so, yes, if used correctly, it can be very powerful. So, that being said, please use this at your own risk, and please use this 100% ethically. Don't ever try to make somebody do something that, that's not in their best interest. Okay, that's what this is for. So our hypnotic secrets today, I'm going to see if I can move this up here so I can actually see it. Okay, so my first one, and this is the one that people seem to like the most, they seem to find the easiest to use, is called the claim, no claim language pattern. Okay, and it's basically to help you avoid getting banned by Amazon, or getting into trouble with like the FDA in the US by making claims on things you really can't legally make claims on, but still be able to sell your product, right? Second one is how to justify why your customer should buy from you as opposed to anybody else. And that is a hypnotic feature anchor. And I'll teach you all about that in just a minute. And that's a really simple one as well. But it's really fun because it helps you think about your product from a completely different light, from a different perspective. And then the other one we've already talked about a little bit. It's to stop focusing just on features and benefits and to use more transformational language. Okay, so let's jump right into this. So secret number one is the claim, no claim language pattern. Okay, this is you want to use this if you have a product that is regulated. Okay, where the words you say to sell your product are regulated. So the FDA, FTC, I know in Australia and New Zealand, when we've worked on products where they sell even off Amazon for other e-com products, they have really strict regulations. If you're in Europe, they have different regulations, and it's important to know those. But the general regulation for all of these countries is that you can't make claims. Okay. So that's what makes this really ideal for if you're trying to, really help people, let's say with like a product that helps with cancer or a product that helps them earn, like double their income or a product that helps them to lose 30 pounds. Okay. So the way that we do this is we take what you would normally say, like, this cures cancer, because you can't say that, right? You can't legally say that on Amazon, at least most of the time. Amazon and a bunch of other people will be really ticked off if you say that. You'll probably end up getting kicked off of Amazon. Or like this is guaranteed to make you drop 30 pounds in 30 days. Can't say that. Or this will make you $1 million a year. You can't say that. Amazon sends out their goons. It's a huge no-no, right? And I think we all know that. I'm sure everybody on here knows you can't just make random claims, even if they're true. You can't say things like that. What we can say is use a specific language pattern. We can point out what you can't claim, even if it's 100% true that, and it's true. We can point out that you can't claim it, and then we can point out what customers say, right? So we can say something like, well, I can't say XYZ supplement cures cancer. I can say that success stories and testimonials from 100 plus customers demonstrate substantial hair regrowth in just 3 weeks, right? And it was hair regrowth after chemotherapy in just 3 weeks. They must have cut that out. So that you just kind of you fill in this pattern. So while I can't say, and then right here where it says, the name of your product and then the claim you want to make, you can say, I can say that. And then you can use success stories and testimonials. If you don't have those, you can also use studies, right? You can use authorities in the field. You don't have to just stick to this. So if you're just launching a new product, there are ways around it when you have no success stories and testimonials yet. You can go out and find the evidence you need to show that there is another benefit that that person really, really wants. And also when you say, well, I can't say, people automatically interpret that you're being more honest and you're being more open, and they can trust what you're saying. And we've tested this a lot of times. That's why we know. The next one is, I think it's everybody's favorite. This is everybody's favorite. And it really cracks me up because it's kind of like this big eye opener, right? People who sell online and who don't sell online, they don't realize that big corporations do this. These huge brands do this, right? But it's becoming a really big thing on Amazon because I know tons of sellers who, like we've worked with thousands of sellers. I know so many who will send me a link and say, oh, it's just like this other product, like it's this identical product, but I need it to be different. Okay. The way it's an identical product, but you need it to be different. It's like a Me Too product, but you really need it to be different to sell it, especially if you're selling for more than the other guy, right? So what you need to do is you need to create a hypnotic feature anchor. The reason for that is so you can position your product as a one of a kind and not a Me Too product, right? So you're positioning your product's performance and features as better in your prospect's mind or in your buyer's mind. Sorry, pardon me. And what that does is it sets up this anchor, and it's a really simple anchor, and it makes them compare every other product to your product, right? And so they'll get really excited about seeing that your product has, it's like Hoover has like specific suction technology, right? Everybody gets really excited, and then they go and they look at these other products, these other vacuums, and they say, oh well, these other vacuums don't have XYZ suction technology. It's all the same thing. But if you make up an ink, like seriously, it's all the same thing. Like I think they had Vortex or Tornado. I'm looking at my business partner right now. Was it like Tornado technology? I don't remember. I've never written for Hoover. I tend to like to write for like, you know, um, Amazon sellers who are kind of powering the way to the top as opposed to people who've been around for like 100 years. Wind tunnel technology. Sorry, wind tunnel technology. Thank you, Philip. So they had like this Vortex or something wind tunnel technology, right? And so people were going out and they were saying, well, why do you literally they're saying, why do you like this vacuum? Why do you think it's the best vacuum? the vortex wind tunnel technology can pick up a bowling ball. There were like 30 other vacuums at that time that could pick up a bowling ball. It wasn't even a like it it wasn't even like a benefit. It wasn't even a target. It wasn't even a benefit above the competition. But because they created this anchor and marketed it with this specific cool technology. Yeah, how many people? I think it's a great point, Philip. How many people are using vacuums to clean up bowling balls in their house? He's like, but they did this and they sold more product because of it. So basically, when you said,
I can't help myself. I just have to just jump in here. I remember there was an ad on
sorry,
TV. I remember there was an ad on TV a few years ago, and it was for a shampoo, and the ad said, "Now with added photosynthesis." And
right?
and well, as I'm a bit of a science geek, and this just doesn't make any sense. But I mean, can you
No.
legally get away with that sort of stuff? And
You
just
can.
yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
although I
know.
don't know, you can't. Okay, so if it's a scientific term like added, I'm going to show you in just a minute how you do this, and this is completely ethical and not illegal. But thank you for saying that. By the way, I do not think I'd buy a product where I had like they thought I was a leaf. Okay, I'm not drinking in nutrients from the sun, but how cool is that they thought that up? So yeah, that's really awesome. So yeah, so with this particular thing, I'm just going to skip right over that part. You don't ever want to lie, and you don't ever want to try to use something that is that there's like a scientific there's a current scientific name for it, right? So for example, photosynthesis. I'm sure they can get away with that. I'm sure that they can prove in their studies that, somehow or another they made it so our hair absorbs more sunshine, right? I I don't have a product like that I sell. I don't have a product my clients sell. But so for this, what you're really doing is you're looking at the features and the benefits, and you're just creating a technology out of the most prominent feature they want to see and the most prominent benefit, or just two prominent benefits, right? So, for example, let's say that somebody, really wants to, go and work out at the gym, but their headphones always fall out, or and other people are saying, well, my headphones not only fall out, but people give me dirty looks because I'm running like crazy next to them, and they're looking at me like, why is your music so loud? Turn down your music, because they can hear outside of because they're not molding inside the ear. People can hear that music outside of the ear, and they don't want to hear your music. They want to hear their music. So it's embarrassing, right? So you can say something like, well, I know they want it to be comfortable, and my audience knows that it needs to mold in their ear to be comfortable, and to stay quiet. And so you can say comfort mold technology. You can also say something like comfort fit technology, right? The reason that this works is our brains like really simple things. Okay, the more we can simplify something, and the less we have to think about it, the more we'll remember it, and the easier it is to remember it, and the more likely they'll come back and buy, or they'll buy right there, right? Because they can process it. Sorry, just a second. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. So comfort mold technology works because the specific product we were talking about has this moldable foam that goes in their ear. If you have a product where mold is an issue, obviously don't use mold. That's a business partner was saying this. Don't use mold. The earbuds did not mold. So, but that's a really good point. Be very careful what you're anchoring your product to, right? You want to anchor it to something that is not a negative about other products in your industry, not an objection. Yeah, like a shoe insert, people use mold all the time for shoe inserts. Yeah, but might there be something better? Yeah, that's a good one. Hey, or else. We always play the or else game. Like, once you do this, go through and say, well, what else? How else can I make it better? How else can I power this up? What other better word can I use to describe this, right? But just make sure you stay within the framework of your specific audience's, hot button and trance words. Don't try to just do it because you think it's cool. Look for a better word they're using. Okay. So again, try to make this 2 words. You're taking 7 words as opposed to saying, this earbud molds to your ear so other people don't hear your music and give you dirty looks. You can say silence mold technology, or this earbud, unlike other earbuds, or, while other earbuds fall out of your ear, this earbud molds to your ear. And you'll still want to say that, but you want to anchor it with comfort mold technology or comfort fit technology so that they can remember the 7 things you said or the 10 things you said is one thing. Okay. So we're trying to get it down to like 2 words. The rule about that is don't make it boring. Make it spicy, make it awesome, make it, like something that they really want to be a part of, that they would want to anchor to their identity. And then also make it about what they want most. Like I said, comfort when working out, earbuds that stay in their ears. Um, so this is actually a third secret. We're already to our third secret. And we talked a little bit about this already, but this is, if I can impress anything on anyone today, you really need to move away. And I see this all the time. You know, like the sellers, they pour their heart into, some of these sellers pour their heart into creating their listings, and they're pretty darn good. And you look at it and you're like, well, you know, they're making decent money. Maybe they're doing $10,000 or $20,000 a month. Maybe they're doing $30,000 a month. But then you look at their competitors, and their competitors are doing $120,000 a month for the same product. And it's like, well, you know, are their competitors just doing, are they sending more traffic and eating a ton in you know, marketing costs? Or is it because their listing's better, right? 9 times out of 10, their listing's better. They're getting higher conversions. And the reason they're doing that is because they're painting this picture of transformation with their product. So if you can create like that subconscious movie of your prospect already owning the product and using it, and the outcome they experience, that transformation, that's excellent. You know, that's really one of my biggest secrets, and you've heard me mention it multiple times. It's key to what we do. The reason for that is because your subconscious mind, like I said, doesn't really know the difference between reality and fantasy. And there's a lot of neurological studies. If you're a geek like me, I'm a total neuro geek. So if you're a geek like me, like, you can go and read through these studies and see, like, okay, well, how did they determine that the subconscious mind didn't really know the difference between reality and fantasy? You know, how do they know that? Um, and the reason that's important is because your subconscious mind makes, and we've tracked this again, and there's been study after study after study that tracks this. It makes between 80 and 98% of our buying decision. It's what gives us that empowerment inside to feel like, yeah, this is going to work. This is awesome. This is amazing. And makes us click that buy now button or the add to cart button, specifically on Amazon, and makes us continue through checkout instead of abandoning the cart. Um, so yeah, I mean, if you can use more transformational language, that would be excellent. Again, if you can think about it like, and this is probably something most people here know, I'm probably speaking, like, preaching to the choir, but if you can buy an emotion, you can realize people buy an emotion they justify with logic. And you realize that that emotion is actually the picture that, it's based on the picture that they see. And if you trigger that emotional framework that they must experience before they buy, then you're going to get a lot more sales. You still have to justify it with logic, but that transformational language really links the emotional in the brain, the evoking the feeling of emotion that we need them to feel to get excited, or to feel content, or to feel safe purchasing, or to trust what you're saying, with the logical side of your brain. And again, I know this is really neuro, geeky, but basically, if you could just paint a picture of how your product is going to change their life, even if it's something as simple as, like, plants, right? If you could just paint that picture, you're going to do a lot better than someone who's just saying, here's the feature, here's the benefit, here's the feature, here's the benefit, right? And I'm sure you'll still make some sales either way. It's just, I'm guessing you're here because you want to make a lot of sales. That's my guess, right? So the this all boils down to, if you can, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but if you can look at their identity, and not specifically like who they think they are, but more how they want to be seen, right? So we are all, at least me, and I know there's a huge percentage of the population, is concerned about what other people think of us. Okay, so if you can kind of push on that and massage that a little bit, if you can kind of jab at that, if you can jab at that identity and say, well, right now you're not the person that you want to be seen as, but if you buy this product, you're going to be that, you're going to be the person driving the awesome car, or that huge truck. You're going to be this big tough guy if you want to be, or you're going to be like this superhero, female, or you're going to be the person you really want to be seen as, right? If we can figure out what that is, which you can by reading the reviews, and going and doing your research. If you can figure that out, and then you can push those hot buttons, those are going to get you more sales with transformational language than anything, because people want to be seen a specific way. And watch what happens. Like, if you want to test this out ever, if you really, I love these, I call them social experiments, and it drives my partner crazy, my husband crazy, but I love doing these social experiments. So let's say we'll be at a party or something, and someone is like, you know, they want to be seen as like this really well put together person. Just walk up to them and say something like, did you know, like, just kind of start touching your face, like, just to see how powerful this is. If you really want to see this, did you know there's like this, you've got like a thing, and just kind of move your hand by your face. They will freak out, and they will start like rearranging everything about their appearance. If they want to, obviously if their identity is they want to look well put together, pressed, wealthy, etc., they will freak out, and they'll start like touching everything, like, wait, what is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? Okay. So, and that right there alone, you can test this out yourself. This proves the power of, your identity, like what you want to be seen as. People who many of us have been there where we were just, we're in college and we're driving this embarrassing hunk of an old metal car, right? And it's like you drive up to your first job interview and you don't want them to see you get out of the car. It's because your identity, it doesn't align with your identity. You don't want them to think, okay, well, I'm this person who can't afford anything and I'm just some college kid, or so if you can move them away from, if you can show how your product moves them from the person they don't want to be seen as to the person they do want to be seen as, you're going to do really well. Okay, so I'm just going to skip over that part right there because that we just went over all that. So how do you actually do this, right? I told you I was going to tell you how we do it, not just what to do. So the easiest thing you can do is you can use the transformational language. So you can, right? And then you would say something really simple, like hypnotic anchor, feature um, has, or like let's see, turbocharged V6 technology has 10 times more torque than, and again, I'm not a truck person, I'm kind of making this up, I highly doubt this is true. 10 times more torque than your average 4x4, allowing you to or so you can screen past all those tiny red sports cars and make her smile. Obviously that's going for a specific target person, specific demographic. It's a guy who's young and he's trying to get this girl's attention. Okay, that's his identity. He wants to be seen as that by this person, by somebody else. Same thing. So let's say you want to be someone who feels like a NASCAR driver, or you want to be someone who, is like, yeah, hey, I got home in 20 minutes, right? I'm a fast person. I can get around everything. So you would say, you would talk about your feature and your hypnotic anchor, your benefit, and then you would go into, so you can confidently accelerate and maneuver like a stealth hawk and arrive home in time to watch the big game. Okay. But again, this all depends on who they are and their identity. Okay, so we've talked a lot about how you can apply these already, and these are really powerful tactics. And a lot of people are going to be able to just put this into practice, and some people are going to have questions, and they're welcome to ask them. But the real thing is, like, for me, I always offer this to my customers. I always to our clients, like, you can always go and do it for free. But I'm a big mindset person. So, like, you can always ask yourself, like, does this fit in with why I'm doing what I'm doing, and is it worth it to me and my family? And if that's true, then definitely go. And there's a link on here to a template, right? And this is the checklist for everything we've gone over today. And so you can totally do that. Or I promise these guys that I would offer special packages and some great discounts as Black Friday's coming up. And so there's a whole bunch of different packages we offer. There's something for everybody. There's like single and multiple and six-figure ones. But I do ask that you go through and you review the proof and the results and the testimonials before this is a big one, before you decide to hire me. Please look through that, because if you're in a product listing in a smaller market, and you be realistic about what you're going to get. I mean, we have the 10x guarantee, but you still have to be realistic. Like, is my widget going to sell $100,000 a month? Well, at $2 a piece, probably not, but there are other options. So I promise I put that up. So I did that. And again, there's more, more about like all the stuff we offer that you probably don't need to see. But if you do want to go and see proof and results to make sure this works and give yourself confidence, before you give it a shot, then you're welcome to go to amazonsalesguru.com. Or if you have questions, you can just, shoot me an email. I'm open to helping people all the time. And with that, I think, Andrew, we're ready to open. Do we have any questions? Do we have
Yeah,
any Q&A today?
we certainly
Okay.
do. That was, let's go back to our main, if you want to
Yeah.
stop
Sorry,
sharing
just a
there.
second here. Okay, give me a second here. Okay, can you see me?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Am I back?
Yeah, I mean, that was, my brain is suffering from too much information overload is the word.
Sorry.
It's a
That's why I
lot
made
of,
the template for
yeah,
people to download, because I think if you can just check it off,
yeah, yeah. I think, I
it's going to
mean,
be a lot easier.
most people are going to have to go back over that again, and certainly, I mean, for some of us, I guess you are making points that. But what I found interesting with that was that often I think a lot of sellers are doing some of the things that you're saying without even knowing
Hmm.
why.
Yeah, they don't
Um,
know why. It feels right because they've read
well,
so many other
we're all
listings.
copying each other. So,
Not the best idea, but yes, you can totally all copy each
well, I
other.
mean, I mean, a
Yeah,
great example is that pretty much everybody is doing the all caps hook at the beginning of their bullet points.
they are. But
But
sometimes
but they're not doing where you capitalizing phrases and
it,
stuff within the bullet points.
yes, those tonals, the
Yeah.
tonal anchors. But I was thinking that if I mention that all caps hook people who've never launched anything on Amazon who might be watching would benefit, as well as kind of a reminder to people who are questioning whether or not they should really be doing that. And so I thought if I kind of explain why we do that, it's, you'll have more confidence in actually giving that a try and continuing with that if you're doing it the right way already.
Yeah, yeah, very good. Yeah, I had some. We had some questions coming through on the Facebook as well. Um,
Shoot, I'll do
yeah,
my best to answer on the fly.
so yeah, we mean we've run into the hour mark already, but let's just get a
Sorry.
few ones in there. Your thoughts on keywords, and it's this constant thing where we want to write to sell, but we're writing for a search engine at the end of the day as well.
We are. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I actually have a whole training program on that, not just on keywords, but how you put your keywords in. So basically, you obviously need to make sure you're including, and we try to include the top 10 long tail keywords within the two most important, at least in the title, in exact order, and then the top 10 in the bullet points. And obviously, you get more play for your top bullet points than usually you do for your bottom bullet points. But then you can also break up keywords that don't make sense. And I use a lot of different keyword softwares. So I use, for example, Scope is one that I use. Keyword Inspector I use. Um, I've shown people on video how to use Sonar before just because it's free. I mean, there's a lot of different softwares I use, but it all comes down to the end of the day for me, for mixing those keywords, the top high volume keywords with also some really low competition keywords that still have, especially if you're just kicking off, that still have a lot of traction. So for example, if you have, and I call this like market saturation or keyword saturation. And so if you have a keyword, let's say that you find where, maybe you're kicking off a product and maybe there's only 10,000 people searching for that every single month using that keyword, but you only see that like 5 products are ranked for it, right? Use the keyword. That's you on page 1 for 10,000 customers a month to see 10,000 Amazon prospects. So definitely use that keyword.
Yeah,
But yeah, you definitely put keywords in there. That's sorry, I didn't even mention that. Yes.
yeah, it's just a kind of the constant thing sellers are always thinking about. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Well, for example, I see a lot of sellers. They'll say something like, "This is the best such and such on Amazon," and of course, again, this is all from us copying each other. But you're saying, yeah, we should not use the best, but just keep, what did you call it?
Well,
Upgrade the
and
words.
if it is, yeah, upgrade the words definitely. But if
Yeah.
it is the best thing on Amazon, feel free to say it, but say it in a better way. And then you're
Yeah.
gonna just remember, always justify why. Okay, AJW, always justify why. Because customers are automatically skeptical. They have, sometimes 5 things that are the same as you're selling, sometimes 1,000 things. And
Mm.
so if you can just justify why it is that yours is the best, using a hypnotic anchor even is a great idea, right?
Yeah.
Then you're going to get a lot further than somebody who just says this is the best. Because think about someone walking up to you out on the street and saying, "This is the best shirt ever. Buy this shirt." Why? Why
Yeah.
would you buy that shirt when there's someone else next to you saying, "This is the best shirt ever. Buy this shirt. It's $3 cheaper over here." Okay, so especially if you're selling for more money than your competition, you really need to be justifying why they should buy it, why those features are important, why the benefits are important, how they're experiencing, what transformation it'll help them experience. So
Yeah. Um, Thoughts on so some people are asking about emojis, and I think they're referring also to like stars and asterisks and
the HTML codes,
yeah,
right?
UTF-8
Okay.
characters, this kind of stuff.
If it is legal, and I'm going to say this, I'm very big on legalities. If it is legal in your market, we have found that certain emojis or these HTML codes, right, do increase conversions. So, for example, the check mark works really well. There's a green check mark, and I think it's 99. Is it 9986? Well, if it's like, anyhow, I can give you the code if you need it. So the check mark works really well, especially if you intersperse it throughout the bullet points, because it breaks up the copy. So there's more space in between, and our eyes like space in between. So the check mark's really great to use. And then if you're in, like, let's say the baby category, smiley faces, we split test like smiley faces versus check marks versus regular bullet points, and we got higher conversions with smiley faces. So yeah, if it's legal at the time that you're watching this in your specific market, then yes, we've seen conversions go up from that, and I've used that very successfully. But again, be careful with Amazon. Make sure that it's okay with them before you do anything. They're kind of the god of like ecom. So
Yes, yes indeed. But sometimes you got to take some risks. That's my
Yep.
two
And
cents.
you can always talk. You can always talk your way back in. That's something I've helped a lot of people do too. Is talk your way. Like just as
Yeah.
free advice. Hey, I got, and it's nothing because not because of anything I've done, but hey, like I got kicked off Amazon. What are some great hypnotic language patterns I can use? And I
Mm.
usually say, "What did you start with? I'm sorry because you clearly broke the rules. We kind of have to do, like mea culpa. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
And again, not from anything I've done, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
And we've got one. Yeah. Okay, so this is a good one, I think. Especially as Amazon's becoming more competitive, you see a lot of people are starting to sell more expensive items.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is there a different way to approach an item where someone might spend more time thinking about it, as opposed to like an impulsive $15 purchase? This one's up above the $50 range.
Okay, very good. We've sold products that are in the thousands. So yes, there's two things to think about. One, always treat your product like it is the most expensive product on Amazon, because if your customer or if your competitors are using repricing software, it will be shortly if you're not. Okay. So we always try to say, okay, if this was, 10, 15, 30, $40 more expensive than anything else, how could we justify this? And so, make sure you really hit on those whys. Like, why are these features important? How will they transform your life? Why are the benefits important? How will they transform your life, right? With the more expensive products, you need longer listings. You need better images. You really, really need to know the identity of the person purchasing that product, right? So, for example, we had, I'm trying to think of exactly what it was. We had this air conditioner that we were selling, and it wasn't us personally, one of our clients, and they came to us and they couldn't tell us like why their air conditioner needed to be like, it was like two times the price of the top seller. And so we had to go through and say, okay, so what is this? There was almost nothing special about it. We increased their sales, and of course we made up a hypnotic anchor that was based on what their customers wanted to see, but it dramatically increased their sales just by looking at the identity of the people who would buy. Who do we want to target? Why would these people buy this? It had this really sleek, classic look to it. It was more of something that you'd see in a salon or a spa, as opposed to something you'd see sitting in, someone's living room. It definitely wasn't a swamp cooler. So if you look at that identity of the person you want to buy and you speak to that, you can usually sell higher products. But you really need to make sure that, again, you're justifying like how this is going to transform how people see them for expensive products. Unless it's like, there are more expensive like supplements out there, and then we have to, instead of speaking about how people are going to see them differently, you usually speak about how much more it's going to transform their life. I hope that answers the question. Did that answer the question okay?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah, we are running out of time. Well, I mean, there's no set time limit here, but this is probably the longest webinar we've ever done. Let me see if I just
Awesome.
get one more. Oh, this is a good one. Oh yeah, okay. How about this? Is it a good idea to say something that's negative but not negative? If you know what I mean.
So what you're talking to, I think there's this amazing copywriter who was at a summit and there's a lot of us out there, by the way. I'm not the only one. There's an amazing copywriter who was at a summit down in Las Vegas, and I think maybe what you're referring to is like talking about the competitors' products, um, pointing out the flaws without necessarily saying like that it's that specific competitor's product,
I
or
think
without using something that only pertains to them.
no. I think what it is to make. I think what the person is asking is to make it look more like you're being more genuine. You say
Oh yeah,
something
yeah.
almost yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the genuine anchor, the trusting. It's another trust anchor. So yeah, if you want to say something like, if you point out a really minuscule flaw, in your product compared to other products, and it can be really something really simple and little and stupid, right? But then you want to transform into, all the other amazing things. So you can say something like, while our product doesn't have, an extra flap on the back to allow bugs to pass through. And again, this is totally stupid, but I'm just making this up off the top of my head. Then you would say, it's been proven better than, or customers say it's great if you can do that. Customers say it's, and then say all the awesome things that customers say about it in quotation marks. Or you can say, while this isn't the fastest RC car, on the planet, it's kids, it has the highest rating of kids saying they love it or something like that. So you want to say, you want to show like a little minuscule thing And I'll add that next time. I'll add that to the template too. So sorry, Patricia. You want to say a little thing that is really not really a flaw, but something that they don't care about that much. You can do that if you have like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 competitors, we're all saying the exact same thing, because then you will sound like a more sincere person. So for example, sometimes I tell people, while my success rate is first time out, with the first iteration of copy is only 98%, we've made people over, and I'm
Right.
not stuff, right? So I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, you can say like things like that and it does benefit. Now you have to be really careful. Do not point out that minuscule thing. Do not point out that minuscule thing if if it's something that your customers really want to see. You have to handle every objection, but you don't want to point that out. So point out enough good things to tip the scale instead of them noticing that one little thing, right?
I think
the classic things are better for them.
The classic example of this is the job interview, and you say, "Oh, my biggest problem is I'm a perfectionist," or something like that.
Yeah, right, exactly. My biggest problem is I'm a perfectionist, which I'm not. My biggest problem is I'm a perfectionist, or my biggest, this product's biggest flaw is that, it just keeps going out of stock. That is not what you want to say. That's really right? Yeah. But yeah, if you can point out something really little that your customers really don't care about, it does show that, that you're very honest.
Yeah.
On that note, real quick, I know we have to jump off, but if your product is priced higher than everybody else's, that is also an objection. So make a point to address that. I meant to add that to the PowerPoint. Sorry. Make a point to talk about why it's worth it. Describe its value as being better than other ones. Sorry, it's just positioning thing. That's totally random, but I just had to tell everybody that because you just asked that other question.
Yeah.
So
okay. Yeah, look, there's so much information in your slides. We will send the slides out to everybody,
okay.
and you can also contact Diane at what was the URL again?
Diane at AmazonSalesGuru.com.
Yeah. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, please do. You're welcome to contact me. I love answering questions. I'm really geeky about this stuff. So
yeah, and as always, folks, you can also contact us at hello@splitly.com if you want to get any more resources, anything like that, and we can also answer your questions. So with that, we're going to end this webinar for today, and a big thank you to everyone for coming. We look forward to the next one. A big thanks to Diane for joining us.
Thank you.
And yeah, keep on selling, guys. Okay. Bye-bye.